Wildebeest in zebra will give birth during the middle of the day. This is when their predators like lions and hyenas are fast asleep. But as this little foal took its first steps, the dying embers of the day had just gone over the western horizon, and it was just the time that the hyenas and lions were starting to get active and go out foraging. This is why we didn't light up the sighting, of course. It may have compromised the zebra's eyes and at the same time attracted those hyenas and lions to the activity.
My name is Lauren and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning to viewers from all over the world and welcome to andBeyond Ngala Private Game Reserve. Starting off this morning is a beautiful raptor that we have sitting in this dead knobthorn tree. Have a look at the stunning streaking onto the breast, that beautiful white and black. And it was just the setting that made us stop here this morning. It is an African hawk eagle, and it is just one African hawk eagle. They're usually found in pairs, so I wonder if the other one isn't somewhere close by. Just like us this morning, having a little bit of a late start. It's going to wait till it gets a bit warmer to get going, and once it is a little bit warmer and the sun's come out, I'm sure it's going to move around and head towards looking for some food. But welcome again. It's a stunning morning at andBeyond Ngala. It's quite a cool temperature, about 20 degrees Celsius. Not much wind blowing either, so I think it's going to turn into quite a hot day this morning. But yeah, welcome everyone aboard your live safari from the African bush. Is such a stunning bird to start the morning with, and we were chatting about this specific species yesterday when we were sitting at that big watering hole in the west. You see, I'd watched that, or there was a dove that flew past quite quickly below it and very carefully watched it as it went by. but these African hawk eagles are exceptional hunters. I'm really glad that we get to show you one this morning. They are quite common in the Kruger Park region and in the Lowveldt, but not always that you get a chance to see them perched so beautifully like this and so chilled with us being here. Often you'll get this close to them and then they feel a little bit threatened and they tend to fly away. But good morning everyone again. My name is Nick and behind camera we've got Odie this morning. And as mentioned, it is quite a lovely morning here at Ngala. Our plan for this morning, we were trying to head towards the lioness that we managed to see last night very briefly, and her 3 cubs, which are hopefully going to be there this morning. And we just had to stop at this beautiful bird. It's such a stunning scene with the sun rising in the background, beautiful view of the clouds as well. So from here we are going to head back towards the Timbavati River. I think this morning the river has dropped quite a bit, so there's a good chance we'll get across at one of the other crossings. And that's our plan for this morning in Juma with Tristan and Trishala. I think Tristan's looking to catch up with the 2 leopards that he ended drive with last night. And Trishala, also being a little bit jealous of Tristan's success, also looking for a leopard this morning. So wishing her all the best. And then we also have Steve at Pridelands, who hopefully will be out this morning as well. Have a look at the hawk eagle. We were chatting about them hunting yesterday a little bit, and the reason why they are usually so successful is because you almost always find them in pairs. Now, we have been looking for the other one, but I'm not sure where exactly it is, or if there is another one. This could also be a chick from last year maybe that has not yet found a mate, and that's why it's on its own. But yeah, it's really lovely to start the drive this morning with this beautiful raptor. For now, we're going to stick around with this bird, maybe move on, but we're going to show you what the weather looks like across all the different reserves this morning.
And here is a beautiful view of Djuma Game Reserve from Zoe's Road. Always a wonderful view from here because you see the great expanse that is Juma, although you could probably see towards Torchwood with that. Hi everyone, it's me, Trishala, and I have Darby on camera with me this morning. And it's quite lovely this morning. It's a little bit cool, a little bit overcast, which means we're not beating down with any sun. But it's one of those mornings that, you know, in South Africa when you get these cloudy mornings, but there's just this hint of humidity, then you know it's going to be a scorcher later on. So this morning, we are looking for leopards. Tristan and I, we were egging each other on this morning. But I'm sure that he will find a leopard. And I was actually thinking there's 3 things I want to do today. One, I would love to check out the hyena den just for a little bit. I would love to focus on some birds in between. And then I also obviously want to find a leopard, maybe in Shlangula, because Davy and I have not seen him. So that would be nice. Anyway, those are just the plans for the day. And remember, this is your live safari, so won't you chat to us? So use that hashtag WildEarth or @FC on the YouTube chat stream. You can even go to our website and sign up, and you can use our question box and send through all your questions and comments. Of course, our kiddies, special email address for you, kidsquestions@wildearth.tv, and we can have some fabulous discussions.
Just not the tracks of the Juma Leopard.
Just my game drive radio, excuse me. It feels like a hiccup or something whenever the game drive radio goes off while I'm trying to talk to you, and I always feel the need to excuse myself. Look at that sun peeking through. Fiona, you'd like to know if I have my microscope with me? Oh, I wish, Fiona. I wish. The microscope still exists. But obviously, for you to get the microscope feed appearing for you, then there's a whole lot of technology that has to be incorporated too. And unfortunately, it's been used for other things. So my poor microscope is sitting somewhere, crying, most likely, but I do have my dissection kit. So we can have a bit of fun, even if it's not with a microscope. Anyway, how about we get going? Isn't this just stunning? Just beautiful. Nice blanket of clouds there. Nice, right? All right, let's go. Let's get going. So I'm moving south on Zoe's, and I'm going to end up on Philemon's cut line, and then we're going to pop into the den briefly. I've been seeing lots of beautiful, beautiful birds, and I was reminded to focus on some birds by a cousin of mine. Well, she didn't say focus on some birds. She said she loves birds. So I said, you know what, it's been a while since I have looked for birds or stopped for every little bird, and I want to do that today, you know. Whether it's starlings or they're beautiful raptors and eagles and stuff like that. Either way, let's get through this. Nigel, you'd like to know if I've ever encountered a panther or a melanistic leopard while out here? No, I haven't. Although I know that there are certain organizations around the area, not actually like around Hoedspruit, which is the town close by, where there is a melanistic leopard. I have seen it there. But apart from that, I did dream about it, and that's a very important point. I dreamt about a melanistic leopard. Actually, not even while I was here, while I was at home. But it was on the reserve. Everyone was asking, did you see it? It was called in on the radio. But no, in reality, no. I don't know historically if there's ever been one here, but at the moment, and as far as I know, there haven't been any of those beauties around. Just keeping an eye out for tracks, because last night when Shidulu and Tlalamba had that interaction, Shidulu moved in this general direction. I was actually on the junction. You would have heard when Tristan was talking to me on the game drive radio, and he was asking if I was on that junction, and it was the junction of this road, because she was moving in this direction. But you saw that interaction. It was such a high energy interaction, because they both seemed to have scared each other, that she was kind of running off, and so was Tlalamba. And Tlalamba ran into camp, and after game drive I went down to my room, and then, you know, like take your cap off and your mic and stuff like that, and then go up for dinner. So I did all that, and then casually walked up for dinner, only to find a guest vehicle full of guests in front of, or just behind my room. And then I was doe-eyed in the lights. And then they said, there's a leopard just behind you. There's nothing creepier to hear than somebody whispering to you that there's a leopard behind you. What they meant to say was the leopard moved behind where you are now. How does anyone even react when you're told that? Well, I reacted by getting my spotlight and going to have a look. But she was running, so, you know, she would have been out of the way of any type of human settlement by that time. Okay, well, my head is down looking for some tracks, and Tristan's head's been down. I am more looking for tracks, but he's probably got an update for you. Let him say good morning.
There's a lot that happened last night. It was quite an interesting sighting in many respects, which we'll get into just now. We actually have come all the way down to Treehouse Dam because we were following tracks, which I think is Tswalu, and coming all the way down, and she eventually actually crosses out. I just saw Rex, and now he just came from the other side, and she's gone out towards Little Gowrie, unfortunately. My name's Tristan on camera. I've got Impala this morning, and it's a lovely, beautiful, overcast morning, like Trishala said, and good weather for dogs this morning. I don't know why wild dogs absolutely love a grey, overcast day, so we'll have to keep a lookout. We know yesterday there was reports of a pack coming towards Buffalo's Hook, so they could easily be around, so we'll have to just keep an eye out for them. But anyway, talking about Tswalu and Kalahari, what was interesting about last night is it was a very weird interaction. Now, normally when two leopards come together and they have a little bit of a fight, what you'll find is that they chase each other and then they actually scuffle a little bit and run side by side, and there's a lot of vocalizing, salivating. That's the normal kind of leopard situation. But yesterday, Tswalu chased Kalahari and her kind of, from what I could see, I mean, it's dark and long grass, so it's difficult to notice what's going on, but it looked like Tswalu caught up with her and then was standing over her, and then they broke, and Kalahari ran obviously towards where we found her on the edge of quarantine in the centre road there, and then Tswalu went the opposite way for some reason, so they just split right there. Now, that's not the normal way, and I don't know if Tswalu kind of got a bit of a fright, or if, Kalahari and her kind of vocalizing, they just sort of decided that's the boundary, and they were happy to then split from there. It doesn't normally happen that fast. It normally takes, a good sort of hour or two of the two of them to establish territory, and sometimes it can last the whole day. So I was surprised at the interaction, but what is interesting is that retracing Tswalu's, following the tracks for this leopard, which like I say, I suspect is Tswalu just from where it's gone. She has walked exactly where Kalahari walked yesterday morning that Trish had her, and has marked everywhere along that way. And I've been noticing Kalahari a lot around this dam, particularly Treehouse Dam, of late, when Tswalu seems to have come here now and marked all the way as though she's saying, no, this is still mine, it's not yours. And it seems like this is going to be the boundary, this sort of Treehouse Dam, and then it takes this kind of invisible line that runs north-south all the way up onto the edge of quarantine, and that western arm kind of being the boundary between the two of them. What that's going to mean is that I think we're going to see both cats coming here more frequently to mark. If they want to keep this, you might find Kalahari might give way a little bit. I don't know, yesterday she looked a little bit nervous of dealing with Tswalu. She was unhappy and was vocalizing and scent marking, but she was also trotting and trying to move away, which is interesting. It's not, how Kalahari normally is. She's normally quite sort of confident in what she's doing. And if it is the case that she does have cubs, it surprises me to see her like that. Obviously, this would be her first litter if she does. And I mean, I'm not saying that she's had cubs, but we're saying it looks like she might be a little bit pregnant. It's difficult to confirm. Last night really wasn't great visuals for us to check it out. But if she does have cubs, normally when a female is pregnant, she's that much more territorial. So she's really kind of pushy about her territory, which, Kalahari wasn't really last night. And if it is that she does have cubs and she was just a bit nervous, it's going to be super interesting to see where she moves now. Does she start to push further east and run the risk of the Mulawati drainage line being flooded and her giving birth there and potentially losing cubs to that? Or is she going to try and find somewhere else that's decent? It's a complicated time now for her to have cubs if she does. I mean, theoretically, just judging by her tummy, if it was that she was pregnant, I suspect that she's probably only about 6 weeks in, a month to 6 weeks. It's not massive yet, but it can be difficult to tell when they only have one cub inside. They don't grow as much. But yeah, she wouldn't, so it would be, let's say, another month to 2 months. And that's still within our rainy season, so it's going to be a complicated process for her to find a den site now. A lot of the dens that she was put in as a youngster, which would be free for her to use now, are unfortunately underwater at the moment, or very, very close to water, and the risk of those flooding is quite high. So it's going to be, she's going to have to use a bit of wits to try and figure out where she's actually going to do this and where she's going to have a cub. Interestingly enough, where we first saw Tandi going into a mound, James was the first one to see Tandi go into a mound when she had Kalahari. And the next morning we went there and Tandi emerged from that mound. Now that mound, we think, is where Kalahari was born. But if that is the case, that would be a perfect place for her to use again. That mound is quite high up, away from the riverbeds. and is quite thick and bushy now after all this rain. There's a lot of growth there. Could be a useful place for her, and well within Columbus territory. I haven't seen any other females around that area for a while. It's against the Mulawati, but not on the eastern side of the on the eastern side, not on the western side. So all of this interaction is taking place on the western side of the Mulawati at the moment. So lots to kind of decode and figure out. I suspect a lot of it only is going to happen once we can start to off-road again and the reserve opens up, is where we're going to really start to understand a lot more of what's going on. But we'll just have to be patient and see. For now, we're going to go bumbling on and see what else we can find. As many of you know by now, one of our beloved leopard characters, Hukumuri, recently passed away. I would like to invite you to join me on Saturday the 20th of February as I take an intimate look into his life and pay tribute to the incredible cat that he was. I'm looking forward to seeing you around the fire at 7:30 p.m. Central African Time.
Converging game path will invariably lead you to a water source, but treat all water as suspect. One of my favorite ways of purifying water is to filter out the particulates. And by just filtering it through your sock, you can clear out most of those. You can put water into a snail shell and you can boil it over a fire or using a chemical like chlorine or colloidal silver.
My name is Steve, and one of my favorite things at WildEarth is getting questions from you. The type of questions that I really like are those ones that really help us to unpack and understand and really integrate the ecological knowledge and fully appreciate the importance that animals such as these Cape buffalo bring to the ecosystem. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, you're going to have to register on the website. But once registered, just head on over to the live safari page and enter your question under the live feed.
Look at this, the little one is up and about. Certainly hasn't had enough milk at this age. No amount of milk is enough. Oh, Corky. Too sweet. Oh, look at this. That is stunning.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
What makes andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve so special is our massive array of habitats. And with that comes, of course, a beautiful diversity of landscapes, but also an incredible biodiversity in terms of plants, bird life and animal life, as well as, of course, our conservation success stories with cheetah, with rhinos, now with pangolins too.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
We're on our way to the den, and then we saw this beauty, the African hoopoe. It's been very patient sitting here, so I'm quite sure it wanted some airtime. It's been having a bit of a clean. All animals pretty much start their day the same. Ablutions? Oh well. At least we got a glimpse of it. So all animals start the day the same way, as I said. Ablutions, cleaning up, and then go out and look for food. And you saw that wonderful long beak that's very tweezer-like to pick insects and bits of larvae that they especially like. Okay, so plan still stands with just one little detour. That is, instead of going straight to the den, I want to go to Treehouse Dam and see if there's some elephants playing there. And then I always have this hope that there's going to be elephants playing in the dam. Remember we went through a period, I can't remember when it was, a couple months back, when there were just elephants everywhere and playing always. Anytime you go to the dam, if you just sit for long enough, you're going to see an elephant playing. Anyway, Steve is out and about in Pridelands. Let's go over and say hello.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Eco Training Pridelands in the Greater Balule, Greater Kruger National Park, where we have managed to find a wonderful little bachelor herd of a zebra here and a few other animals around and about. Good morning. I hope you're having a wonderful day. My name is Steve, joined by Johan on camera, and as always, we are very excited to have you with us on board. And it was a little bit fresher this morning. I actually thought about wearing a jacket. Thankfully, I don't have a jacket because it's now getting quite warm, and these sort of shifts between daytime temperature and cooler nighttime temperature leaves a very thick residue of dew all over the place, and it makes bushwalking at the moment a very tricky process. If you leave anything outside, it's going to get very wet. So a lot of the animals will actually manage to get enormous amounts of their moisture from the grass. And as Steph has showed us before in the past, a very nice way to survive out here in times of dryness or in times of unable to find water. You can just gather moisture off of the vegetation using a sock. You can squeeze it into your water bottle or drink from a sock, preferably a clean sock, everybody, but beggars can't be choosers now, can they? So, you wonder how I know it's a bachelor herd of zebra. Well, there's a group of boys, they've all sort of sub-adults. You see the very thin G-string stripe. Well, that actually looks like maybe it might be one female there. I think they're all male. They're all male, very thin G-string stripe. And it's not uncommon to find bachelor herds of males. And then just off to our left is the actual herd with the stallion and his harem. And my head. I've got to get used to the fact that the camera on this car is... See, the stripe behind them is much thicker. There's the G-string stripe indicating the female. Now that's the male there on the left with him standing broadside, and you can, if you look between his legs, you can almost see the makings of his penis that has not. We'll leave it at that. Oh, there we go. He's definitely showing us now that he's a boy. So he will definitely keep these boys away from his harem. He selects his harem one by one as he gets bigger and stronger and more dominant. He starts off with one, and there ends up being a sort of social hierarchy amongst the females, and he's doing quite well. He's got 5. He must be a very, very successful fellow. Okay, well, there we go. That's why there was a little bit of movement. You see, he's noticeably bigger than the females, everybody, and when you ever come across a herd of zebra, if it's not a bachelor herd, have a look. You'll always find the one zebra. You'll always find the one zebra that's sort of between the herd and yourself, always. And you'll notice that it is the male. Christine, 8 years old. Do you want to know if zebra foals are born with stripes? Yes, of course they are. They're born looking like a very miniature version of the adults. And why is that Impala shouting? The zebras looked up and were like, "Excuse me? What are you shouting at? What are you shouting at?" Sorry, there's our big electric station. What are you shouting at, guys? They're looking at me. I'm in the car, Impala. I don't know, maybe I've got to get used to the Impala here on the Pridelands. But they're definitely alarm calling. I'm going to go around the corner. But they're not looking very vigilant at all. Let's stay a moment longer and see if it amounts to anything greater than a few snorts. The wildebeest and zebra are sort of going, what's going on? We spoke yesterday morning about the wildebeest and zebra hanging out together, and they will feed off of each other's behavior. You can see the wildebeest are pretty chilled. The zebra are pretty chilled. Lots of heads. Lots of ears and eyes paying attention. That poor one has lost half the windscreen wiper. Bradley, zebras are what we call hindgut fermenters. So they are full of gas. Full of gas. If you've ever gone riding on a horse, you'll know what I mean. So most of the animals we see, notably here, the Impala and the wildebeest, are ruminants. Now, ruminants are animals that chew the cud. That means they've got 4-chambered stomach. They will chew, swallow their food, and then go sit down somewhere in the shade and then rechew, and then slowly process that food to get maximum out. Rhinos, elephants, zebras, warthogs, horses are all what we call hindgut fermenters, which means they've got a very large sort of appendix, essentially, like our appendix that we don't use anymore. It's called a cecum. It's a big chamber behind their gut, all the way attached to their intestine, where all of the digestion takes place, almost like a brewery. It's where all the physical fermentation takes place. So they feed on all this food, goes into their normal stomach, goes out of their stomach and goes into the intestines, then goes into this huge cecum, which is basically a big gas house where fermentation takes place. And fermentation basically means that the vegetation gets fermented, and that's what gives the nutrients back to the animals. Now, if you've ever opened a can of cool drink or anything that's got any fizz in it and you shake it up, you know that it can be quite volatile and can pop. And that's how when zebras get a bit excited and maybe do a bit of a trot or a run, they often let out a lot of gas because they are full of gas. And so that's why their stomachs always look so full, because they are full of gas. So it's not actually full stomachs of food, it's a full body of gas. You can't really look at their condition from their tummy. You look at their condition by the condition of the mane, that band of hair along the back of the neck. And if it's standing upright and erect, they're in very, very good condition. Leo, all dung smells different. All animals smell different. Obviously, we might not be able to discern exactly, but everything smells different. There's nothing that really is supposed to smell the same. If it did smell the same, well, I don't really know. Buffalo dung does smell very much like cow dung, but there's still a difference to it. Elephant dung is very different. Zebra dung, I can't say I actually go and stick my nose in all of the dung to get a good aroma. But there's different smells because they also feed on different plant parts. They don't all feed on the same plant parts. They don't digest it the same way. And all of them add their own physical body contact to the dung. So I'm sure all of it smells very different. But I will one day come up with a scratch and sniff book for all of you so that you can smell the difference between a zebra dung and elephant dung, and then we'll make sure we get some hyena pasting in there, as I know everyone's dead keen to smell hyena pasting. Leopard urine, we'll have to bottle it, put it in a jar, because I don't think that will come out on the scratch and sniff pad. Okay, so Impalas still haven't reacted again. I think they just saw Johan in the wrong light. Sorry to say that, Johan, but I think that's the case. They suddenly looked up and saw you, like, whoa, what's going on? Apologies for the telephone pole over there, everybody, or electric pole. We are on the northern boundary now with Jijan, which is the reserve of Bulule north of us, which I think the fences came down last year. So that's accessing the northern sections of the Bulule area, and which encompasses all of this area into the Greater Kruger National Park. Well, Trishala Naidu is also in the Greater Kruger National Park. She's just a little bit further south than we are.
Yes, we are. We are just a little further south, and now we are just a little bit closer to the hyena den. So first, a little bit of an update. There are wild dogs around, but I need them to move a little bit further south before we can go to them. At the moment, they're static. So the guides are there, know that they need to call me in when and if they move south, and then maybe we have some action on our hands. As for here, no action.
Saw them flat on the other side.
Oh, go Darby. Oh, there they are, very flat. Hyena pancakes. On the side here. I wonder if they've had a good meal. That would be great. Oh, hello guys. Oh, ribbons a foot, back foot, just looks so dainty, like she's a dancer. That one is hot. Ribbon's just further up. I haven't seen Ribbon in a while. Look at that foot. She's posed like a dancer. She's been practicing pointing her toes. Look at that. That's some proper flexing right there. Looks like... oh, it definitely is heart and ribbon. The other one looks like one of the males. But I possibly Comet. I'm just going to pull out my binoculars and have a look. He also likes to sit like that. No, I can't tell yet. I'll wait for that one to get up so we can have a look. But as you can see, things are quite funny. This is quite a funny looking scene, actually. It just looks like they've all just passed out after a party or something. They don't look especially well fed, but they don't look skinny either. Christine, you'd like to know why they're not relaxing at the den? They are. They're only about 20 meters from the den. So here's the den in front of me right here. And they're just a little bit off to the side. And remember also, around the den, all the grass, there's lots of grass, and because it's been quite humid, there's dew on the grass. And they wouldn't want to sit in wetness. Well, they prefer not to, and that's why they're here on the ground, where it's also a little bit warmer. So cute, like a baby. Often you will find adults further away from the den than this. Sometimes out of sight for you from the den because of the vegetation, but they know exactly how far away they are, and they would be able to see it if they move this way or that way or whatever. And I think there's close enough. In order to attend to anything if another predator comes around, something like that. But they don't constantly need to be picked by the cubs, so they keep a little bit of distance. Quite a few flies on heart there. Heart, I dare say, looks a little bit bigger than ribbon today. Safari detective, you say Heart looks exhausted. Look, she's coming to investigate why you've said that. She's probably going to call the cubs out. Let's have a look. Wouldn't that be nice? I've seen them far more distended in their middle area than she is now, or than any of them are now. Oh, I was hoping she would call. When they call, they have this low hum. You heard it just now. Let's just listen again. No. Is it just me, or has Ruben looking a little smaller? Maybe it is just me. This is the first time I've seen Ruben in 2 months. Oh, that was so sweet. That's the sound I'm talking about. They use that sound to call each other, but I've heard it mostly for calling cubs. A slight low rumble. It feels quite nice when you hear it. There she goes, talking. Well, I think they're going to go towards the den, and I hope that doesn't mean that they're actually going to move away from the den, but just to call the cubs. Either way, I'm going to sit here and find out.
Hello everybody, welcome to the northern boundary with Tjani and Pridelands. You'll notice there's 2 tracks here, because this would have been where a fence would have divided the two, and eventually this will become one road. You often find, we often talk about cut lines all over Juma. Cut line, this would be a cut line, because once upon a time there was a fence. So whenever we talk about cut lines on many properties, once upon a time that was the line between 2 properties. So always very interesting how many small accumulations of properties come together for the greater good of a larger enterprise. Obviously you get lots of different politics and landowners, and so I'll be learning all of that stuff quite soon as we go, moment by moment. Have a little listen for a moment. Get a few birds. Oh, and there's a car going to come past, so apologies for that. Fan-tailed flycatcher, also known as the great-tit flycatcher, calling. Okay, well, we're going to keep traversing this northern boundary, see what it takes us to, and then see if it's interested who's found some water.
No, man, go away, Rain. Alright, sorry guys, my comms seem to have gone all of a sudden. But we're at the dam itself, and we're sitting enjoying the hippos at this stage and rain. It's all of a sudden started raining at Chitwa. Why? I don't know. There's a bit of blue skies, a bit of sun that's starting to come out, but for some reason we're getting wet. I don't think it's going to last very long. I think it's just a little passing shower for now. It's not like we haven't had enough rain, so it would be quite welcome to stop at any second and leave us alone. But yeah, crazy how the weather is just turning so much at the moment and different every single drive. It seems as though we're having a different type of weather that's hitting us. Anyway, there's no birds fishing this morning yet. I think that's an afternoon activity. I would have expected the greenshank to still be here, though. I haven't seen it yet. Maybe it's just somewhere else on the dam. And there was a heron that was around, but not the green-backed heron. It was a grey heron that was here that flew off. And otherwise, just our hippos that are taking a bit of an easy morning. We came down here again, just one, because I just wanted to come and see the dam, and two, to see if there's any sign of Tandi and Maribs. They were tracks for them yesterday all over Chitwa, so we just came to kind of double check. It's also obviously a good place to look for Sibui and the cubs, so hopefully we're going to have a little bit of luck at some point. Now earlier I was saying that it's wild dog weather. It sounds like there's some dogs that have been found just on the boundary of Manyeleti and Wilfels Hook, so hopefully they're going to come deeper in to where we can actually see them. That'll be quite nice. Good to have doggies running around. I'm also quite keen to see which pack it is. They've apparently chased a leopard up a tree just inside the Manyeleti. They can't see who exactly it is just yet, but they think it might be Kara, which is interesting. Joyce, it is a beautiful morning, bar the rain. Being in an open vehicle and being rained on isn't that pleasant, to be honest with you. Everything gets wet, and our equipment and things like that are not really designed to be getting rained on all the time. So bar that, it is actually a very pretty morning. It's at least not windy. That's one good thing about this morning. I always struggle more when it's windy. But today it's like I say, it's a beautiful kind of clear day. The sun is just starting to peek through the clouds a little bit. And we're just starting to see the kind of separation taking place. It's not just this sort of dark overhead grey that we were seeing earlier in the morning. A little bit of sun starting to come through, and the dam itself is starting to shimmer and reflect all of that sunshine. Nice though, with the sound of the water running. A lion roaring as well. I can't hear exactly where it is over the water, but there's a lion roaring not too far away. It sounds like kind of towards Vessels, maybe not too far from the Chipper cut line. So we'll go and explore a little bit and see if we can maybe find them somewhere in that area. Nice and still though. Good just to sit and let you listen to the sounds of the water. Alright, so I think we're going to just carry on a little bit, and I'm going to maybe head towards where I just heard those lions roaring, see if we can pick them up before we start to look for Tandi, the little one. Meantime, let's send you across to Trishala, who's with little carnivores of her own.
Please be careful, Tristan. You don't want to pick them up because you may break your back. Ha 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 ha. I've just been feeling funny because it's starting to rain on us. I don't even know if this is called a rain. It's kind of a drizzle on us and a drizzle on Ribbon. But it's beautiful, isn't it? Darby's just opening a packet of chips behind me. No, he's not. He's looking at his clots. Don't worry, guys. He's not feeding Ribbon with some chips. And it sounds like it. How pretty is that? Moving into the sunrise. he's out of sight. Lucy, you'd like to know how many clans of hyenas are there? On Juma, there's just the one clan. In fact, it's not just on Juma. This clan, you'll see them on Torchwood. You'll see them on Chitwa as well. She's round the other side again. Shall we move back and have a look? And then the other clan is the Elephant Plains clan, which is to the west. Sounds like she's calling these guys out. Stump! So occasionally we'll get a clan member from the EP clan, Elephant Plains clan, around Juma, but they would be keeping a low profile because they wouldn't want to have an altercation with the Juma clan. Good, good. A little bit more?
If you can.
Oh, I see a little head. So reluctant to come out. Hello. Yes, so it is Comet, as the other adult that was around. If you have a look at the side of him, he has a star. Victor, you'd like to know why we hardly see the males. We do see the males. I mean, well, now you see Comet, but you're right, we don't see them as frequently as we do the females, but also it's because we spend a lot of time at the den. You will find, hello little, look at that. Also doing a bit of ballet on the bar there. You will find that not at the den, when you just see hyenas out hunting or doing patrols and stuff like that, I see males more often then than I see at the den, and that's because of what the den is used for. It's to raise cubs, and the males are not usually associated or necessary to raise the cubs. That sounded a bit harsh. They do come and play with them and things like that, and often left, especially lower ranked males, often left at the den as babysitters. And Comet may be the father of Ribbon's cubs, at least. Look at them. So he hangs around. It's also Swazi that hangs around, but he's not an immigrant male. He's a clan male. But the bonds shared by the females, the alliances and coalitions that they create amongst themselves, are far stronger, not in the sense that they are all friends, but the bonds are stronger in that they affect, there's more effect that comes from anything that happens between the females because of the competition for matriarchy. But that doesn't exist for the males, or that the same type of effect is not as, gosh, I can't speak. It's not as important amongst the males. Anyway, we're going to now move around to the other side and play ring around the rosy with these guys. Hopefully we'll catch a good glimpse.
When on safari, there's nothing better than an evening spent under the stars chatting around a fire, with the sounds of the wild all around you. If you sign up to be a WildEarth explorer, you can build your own memories by joining our guides for regular fireside chats. Subscription payments can be made by PayPal, credit card, and now bank transfer. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
Being a safari driver requires some serious multitasking ability. You've got to be able to talk, look at the road, steer, and occasionally get the vehicle into the right gear.
Do not crash into any trees. Oh, that's a dozy.
Just jump into the car and hope for the best, and you'll see where it takes you. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm surprised they're moving as fast as that didn't go well.
Who is the best driver? Well, me, of course, although some of the cam-ops might disagree. Hi, my name is Tristan Dix, and I am a guide here at Juma Private Game Reserve for WildEarth. We love connecting you to the African bush, and we always look forward to all of your questions. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, you'll need to register on the website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit a question below the live feed. Catch up with me on WildEarth.
The croc is still holding another one there. It's holding from the hindquarters. I would really want. The wildebeest cross is trying. The croc is holding the tail. It's holding tight. Oh no. Goodness me. Lucky wildebeest. You have another day to live.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Hi, I'm Kyle, and I come to you live every day here from Tswalu Kalahari in South Africa. My favorite bird has to be the social weaver. The enormous nest that they create, their survival tactics to inhabit these harsh and unforgiving environments, and as well as their complex social arrangements, is truly remarkable. And the interconnectedness with the ecosystem shows us that we are too.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
Good morning again, everybody, from Pridelands, where we are on our far western boundary right now, watching what looks to be, yes indeed, another front coming in from the south and the east. There is another rainfall event scheduled, I do believe, coming this weekend. So we are in for some more rain. Quite a beautiful scene, nice and early in the morning, and well, we didn't get to do one yesterday. We tried to, so we might just have a little bit of a silent, reflective moment while we just observe and absorb the beautiful scenery around us. It is Friday, after all, the 19th of February. I can't believe February is almost done and dusted. Take a deep breath and just enjoy it all. So when classifying a vegetation unit, veld managers will have a look at the most obvious trees or plants that stand out. And they're often the biggest, the most obvious, and so this area would be regarded as Mopani knobthorn veld, although there are lots of red bush willows in amongst them. If you look at the classification of Mopani knobthorn veld, you'll find lots of different species in there, but the two most characteristic feature, and there we go, that big one is a big knobthorn, and many of the other big ones we see are knobthorns. I mean, Christopher, beautiful sky it is, hey? Very beautiful sky. Here's some wax bills calling, sweep, sweep. It is a beautiful morning. It feels like there is going to be a very warm day this afternoon, which is another build-up. Yesterday was very warm and humid. There's often the prelude to another weather forecast, a weather system pulling in. Often it can just come from the west in the form of a thunderstorm, but you can see the clouds building off to the south and the east, and that is another big system building out in the ocean. As if we needed more water to be dumped on our heads. Sent through a one-word tweet, everybody, about how scenes like this make you feel. Mary, no. Marulas are definitely one of the most prominent trees, but knobthorns seem to get taller than them. Jackalberries, for the most part, would get taller, but then they're always sort of confined to the drainage lines. Some of the false marulas I saw were taller, but marulas are definitely the most obvious of the trees around. There are many of them around, as with the knobthorns. The red bush willows are sort of form the understory. They don't get as big. They're very slow growing, the red bush willows. And then I saw a torchwood just down on the way down to where we are now. My first torchwood this side. And it was a monster. It was bigger than any of the marulas I've seen here yet. The balanites. And then leadwoods also get bigger than the marulas in general. But then bearing in mind, marulas for the most part are growing right up on top of the slope. So they're not in the drainage lines where you find the leadwoods. Leadwoods have got thus access to permanent water, as do jackalberries and false marulas. And the boer beans, which are also a mightily big tree for the most part. I hope you've all had set some good intentions for your weekend moving forward. Whether it be a relaxing one or productive one, time with family and friends. And if you've also had a good week, and if you haven't, learned some lessons perhaps on how to improve next week. Always nice to reflect on our days gone by, everybody. Peaceful, Lana. Yeah, very peaceful. Very, very peaceful. Well, I know my intentions for this weekend are just to go and enjoy this new property. And last night I was finding my way around all right. I got a few left and rights wrong, and we end up in the same place again, and then we're like, okay, we've done the whole circle around back to the breadcrumb trail, but definitely starting to get the hang of it. It's always nice to find yourselves on a new property. I mean, the mood is splendid, a splendid morning, a marvelous morning. Do you have a one word for me there, Johan, about how this makes you feel?
Magnificent.
Magnificent. Indeed, is a good word, magnificent. Magnificent is a great word, in fact. Some high-pitched chirring of the crested, what's it called? Crested barbet. Cape turtle dove calling. The marulas, as you can see in shot, are some very beautiful shapes out here. The characteristic sort of shapes of marulas in this landscape. So there's very mushroom-like. Very much mushroom-like. Sabrina, we're on our way to autumn from, I think, the 21st of March. Is officially the autumn equinox. So wherever you are in the world, if you're in the northern hemisphere, your spring is our autumn, so it's very interchangeable. The 4 seasons around the world are the same, they're just inverted. All inverted, there's a very particular day. The summer solstice was on the 21st of December. I think they're having the autumn equinox on the 19th, 20th, 21st of March. And then the winter equinox, I think it's in June, if I'm not mistaken. And then again, spring solstice is in September. For us anyway, it's obviously inverted in the northern hemisphere, but very important times, of intentions, and the changing of Mother Earth is very cyclical. The changing of the seasons is inevitable. We can't fight it. We need to go with it. We need to flow with it. We need to be prepared for another cyclonic event to be coming in from the east. We can't fight it. But it has grown since we've sat here. That front has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And when the dryness eventually returns, we will be missing the wet once again. As it is human nature, is it not, to complain again that now suddenly it's dry when we want it to be wet again, and then when it's too wet we complain that it's too wet. We want it to be dry. Amazing how funny us humans are. We always want what we can't have, and then when we have it we don't want it. It's so typical. Well, sounds like Trishala's back up and online. So I wonder what her plans are, if she's still at the hyena den, or what her plans are moving forward.
What are my plans? So the cub did come out. You saw 2 of the cubs come out, but then the adults moved away. So then we moved away. But that's okay, because the wild dogs are starting to move south. So now I am slowly making my way there in the hopes that we could catch them. But they are static as far as I know. Oh, yes. I was just about to say, I hope we see an elephant on the way. And then I thought I saw one in Gallagher Shortcut, but there's one here. Hello. Oh, it's a nice little herd. Jumping away on that grass. Look at that. Hello, you guys. Hi, on top of the mound. Hi. They're wishing everybody good morning by raising their trunks. I love when they stand on a termite mound. Imagine what they must feel like. Like king of the world, I think. Stuffing their faces. Grass, grass, grass. There's also one quite close to us on the left that you might be able to hear. You would have heard the emerald-spotted wood dove calling behind me. There's a fork-tailed drongo in the shot there. Look at it, just waiting for any of the insects that the elephant kicks up as it moves along the grass. Oh, yes. Hello. I do see you. I do see you. I'm your friend. You may not recognize me because I haven't been around for a while, but I am your friend. Oh, now everyone's crossing. Rush along, rush along. I love the side look they give us. Very, very, very cool. Well, they've just rushed past us. And in the middle of the road, there was, sorry, I'm just taking this off. It's just my rain jacket I put on when there was a bit of rain. While they were eating here, there was a Natal spurfowl that looked like it was contemplating life in the middle of the road with its head down. Just kind of scratching. Ron, I think that was Ron. I just grabbed that question again from you. It was, how do I know if elephants, or when elephants are comfortable or angry, something like that. While I get the question again from you, I'm just going to turn around. Oh, when elephants are happy. That's a question I don't often get. I often get the question, when do I know if elephants are angry or upset? But how do I know when they're happy? They're happy. Oh, firstly, you know, we have to discuss what is the measure of happiness, and happiness means different things for different animals. But one thing I can be sure of is that happiness, or being comfortable, can constitute being happy. And when an elephant is comfortable, they can have fun. Oh, Tristan's got something very cool. Let's go over.
Indeed we do. The grumpy princess and her delinquent child are together, which is cool. We've managed to find them. I don't know how long we're going to have them for, but it's at least going to be somewhat of a view. Here comes delinquent child, as you can see, full of beans this morning. Reeps, what are you up to? They both look fairly full too, so I think they potentially were on kills during the windy part. She is not happy with him today. Are you going to come play with us instead? Hello, boy. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in 2 weeks, and it feels like forever. I wonder if she's going to lead him to a kill. Isn't that awesome? I was hoping we'd find them, and the luck that we've got to have found them where we are right now is very, very, very much a special thing, because oh my goodness, he is full of it this morning. If we go 200 meters behind me, we start to lose signal quite quickly. It becomes much, much harder to actually kind of spend any time with them, but at least now we are in a good spot. We're right near the mast, so we are okay where we are. It is amazing how playful he is this morning. He is bumbling and jumping and just generally being, like I say, a little bit of a delinquent at this stage. The nice thing is that we do have permission to off-road a little bit on these crest areas, so we can follow her in this little section, not too far, but we can go a little bit with her, so that's good news. We at least won't lose visual any time soon. So let me just turn. We can try and see where they go. Looks like they're heading down towards the dam, which is quite interesting because there's not much down there. Surf 50, it is very cool to see these two. They are, as you know, I mean, Tandi is my favorite of the girls, and so she and combined with this little male who's so boisterous and full of beans, are always an absolute treat to spend time with. The nice thing is also the ground here is nice and hard, so we're all good. There's a beautiful mound coming up. Let's see if he goes on top of the mound for us. It looks like he's going to. Maybe let's... Look. How beautiful is that? The two of them together. That's as good as it gets, that's for sure. I think they might be going to a kill. I don't know why I have this feeling. The way that she's walking and tolerating him being a nonsense is typical of her behavior when she's taking him to a kill. And this area that we're in now is a great place for her to hunt. Just checking all the trees as we go in case. I was actually scanning all of these trees as we were driving, hoping that one of them would be here. From their tracks yesterday, they had to be in this section. Morgan, they are almost the same size, and yes, he is still a cub. He's not even a year old yet. So he's still growing. I normally say once they reach sort of a year old, then they start to move into sub-adult phase and away from cub. That's just generally how I kind of see it. It's not to say that that's exactly how it is, but I suppose cub is starting to become a little bit of a silly word for him. He is definitely getting really big now. He's not quite her size just yet, but not far off. The two of them, obviously she won't grow much more or at all, but he's still going to be a lot bigger by the time he leaves mom. I'm so stoked that we managed to find them. And especially because he's playful. It's even better that he's full of beans this morning. That just makes my day whenever I see him as playful as he is. She, on the other hand, does not look that happy with life this morning. I think she's been jumped on, pounced on, smacked in the face, rubbed up on more than she, as you can see by that, more than she wants to deal with. So I'm not sure Tandi's in the best mood at the moment, but she'll be all right. She'll deal with it. It's part and parcel of having a single child. If there's two cubs, then, the cubs generally entertain themselves, but when there's only one, it becomes a lot harder to deal with. Just going to go around. We're on the wrong side of the light now for us, but it's okay. We'll get back to where they are. The good news is I'm just checking as I'm driving every now and then to see if we, getting any sort of soft patches. But so far, all is okay. And everything is quite hard. Now, where did they... There they are there. Just want to see where they... There's a nice big tree here. There's some impalas coming up in front. So if they haven't got a kill, maybe this is what they'll start to stalk. Just trying to see go through these thickets. It's not an easy area, this, to negotiate. It's still coming quite fast. Wherever they're going, she's on a serious mission. I actually just want to get into the little thicket here so that you can see her. Okay, so she's at the tree, this big tall tree to my left. She's at the bottom of that, well, both of them actually are. Alright, well, we're going to see where they go. Hopefully they'll have something hidden around these thickets, or we'll start to hunt.
As many of you know by now, one of our beloved leopard characters, Hukumuri, recently passed away. I would like to invite you to join me on Saturday the 20th of February as I take an intimate look into his life and pay tribute to the incredible cat that he was. I'm looking forward to seeing you around the fire at 7:30 p.m. Central African Time. Sometimes love wants to make you sing. And sometimes love wants to make you bow and fan your wings to your bow. For the southern yellow-billed hornbill, these are signs that love is in the air. These birds are destined for a season of monogamy at least. Breeding pairs are in it for the survival of their chicks. But before love commences, the male needs to woo his valentine with food in the form of nuptial gifts.
I'm Nikki here at andBeyond in Ngala in South Africa. I love getting questions from viewers about all the small things within the environment and how it all is integrated with one another. If you want to ask me any questions, please simply register with the WildEarth website, head across to the live safari page and then post your questions there. I'm looking forward to chatting to you on my next WildEarth drive.
Hello, Mama. Just checking us out, everybody. There's no aggression here. Very relaxed. A herd of elephants moving around your car like that. It's truly, truly magical.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
My favorite animal is a leopard, purely because I just think they are just the epitome of feline grace and power, and the way they can move about in any environment and remain hidden until they want to be seen, I just find incredibly intoxicating, and they're amazingly beautiful.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
We're still following our leopards. Little boy Marips is causing absolute panic in a herd of impalas. He's walking right up to them and just generally terrorizing them, as you can see by them all running away. I mean, he's got no chance in actually catching one like this, but he's just causing havoc and is being a young leopard who wants to play, basically. You can see, just make out him and then the impalas running around in front of him. Silly boy. This is all part of learning, though. Let me go forward, though, so we can get a better view of him as he's doing this. Debbie, how long until he goes off on his own? Depends on Tandi, a lot of it. But probably you're looking at about anywhere between 4, maybe 4 is a little bit light, 6 to 8 months, I would say, is going to be his sort of time frame. This is very cool shots. Look at him. He's being a little terrorist. You silly boy, what are you doing? I think he just wants to be friends and no one wants to be friends with him. This is not how you hunt, boy. But like I say, there's valuable lessons. He's learning all the time. Every time he does stuff like this and messes around with impalas, he starts to understand where they move and how they move. And eventually that will all become something that he will be able to do himself, and he'll be able to hunt and kill. And you can see he's a bit bewildered in his face as to how this all works. Mom is watching over him and now calling him as if to say, stop messing around there, you're causing a commotion. Come back to where I am. She's watching over him nicely, though. She's sitting on a little fallen over log next to me, just having a little kind of watch and make sure that her son doesn't get himself into too much of trouble. Here she comes. Just listen. You might hear her little chuffs. Look, she'll go up onto the stump so she can watch him. There we go. So she's up on the stump there just to make sure she can see him. Leanne, I'm sure he does. Marips is probably loving every minute of being an absolute hooligan and trying to chase these guys around, whereas Mom is not impressed. She's calling and saying, listen, buddy, you can stop that nonsense now because you're causing a whole bunch of alarm calls, which attracts attention. You can see she's getting annoyed with him because he's not listening to her. Now she's going to go and fetch him and tell him to stop his nonsense. What a cool sighting this has been. I love it when leopards are like this. It makes the days when we don't see them that much better, when we actually eventually do find them and get to spend quality time like us, and there's a bit of chaos that reigns because of a young male leopard who just wants to be friends with everyone. All right, let me catch up with them. The problem here is it becomes quite tricky in places to actually see them if they go into the grass, so let's rather sort of try and see where he is. The one thing that could happen here is, Tandi is moving around, and in the chaos of him chasing other impalas, it's possible one of these impalas just runs straight into her. If they do, she will definitely bring it down. I don't think he's got any chance whatsoever. He's just off on my left. There was one impala actually caught between the two of them. There we go, here he comes. Watch this. I'm sure he's going to come and rub up on Mom. Look at that, isn't that sweet? And a typical Tandi grin when he comes and meets her, but you can see she's still a caring mom, because as he was moving away, she came to fetch him. She was moving the complete opposite direction. No, the wildebeest is too big for you, boy. You can't chase the wildebeest. That face is just a face of naughtiness. Indeed, they do. They've got a wildebeest and a leopard to worry about. But in this case, if it wasn't for the wildebeest, the impalas might have had a problem. And I'll tell you why. They were stalking up, well, not stalking, they were walking, but they were behind a very dense thicket. And it was the wildebeest that spotted them first. And he alarm called, and then the impala saw them. But you can see all this noise that's being made. Here comes a hyena now to come and investigate what's going on. So straight ahead of the leopards, coming down this path, is a hyena. Now look at Tandi's reaction. She'll walk in front of her son and just make sure that she keeps an eye out on that hyena. The hyena's probably coming here because when impalas alarm call for this long and this intensely, normally it's when one has been killed. In this case, it's not that, because we know it's obviously just the cub playing. But when you get this intensity of vocalization, often it's to do with kills, and that's why this hyena will have come here. All right, let's go around, because there's going to be some beautiful light and a beautiful view of them on a mound. Hopefully she stays up there because it's perfect. Two of them are up. He's come down already, but she's still up there. How's that for perfect? Look how she's watching that hyena. She's just making sure that hyena is not coming too close to her little one. Look, the youngest leopard I've seen make a kill was Tiani at 4 months old. Salesh, so I don't know if it's a full kill, if we can count it as a full kill, but Salesh made a little duiker kill, or she grabbed a duiker and then let it go and Tiani was the one that actually came and grabbed it, and was the one that strangled it and kind of actually killed it. So I don't know, does that count? I think it does. So she would be the youngest by far. But on their own, without any assistance from mom, probably about... I mean, what do we constitute as a kill? Does a lizard count as a kill? Does a tortoise? Does a monitor? Frogs, birds? Full-sized impalas, I think the youngest I've seen is about a year-old. So a month for this little guy, and he'll be about the age. Look, we're going to get the two of them on top together, I think, because he looks like he's going to come up to mom. Isn't that special? Big termite mound, beautiful blue kind of sky with clouds and greenery in the background. That's about as good as it gets, and two leopards on top of it. It's a very, very special sight, that. He's watching the hyena. We know he likes to mess around with hyenas a little bit. Look at that. Let's just move slightly. Just try and get around them so we can get their faces a little bit better. Don't want to go too far around because otherwise we lose the light a little bit, but that's a bit better, isn't it? I think so. I think we're winning. Oh, bless you. She is not happy with him at all. It's quite funny to see how grumpy she gets with him. And I'm not surprised given his boisterousness and how she gets whacked in the face every few minutes. It's very much an irritation, I would imagine, for a leopard like Tandi. She's a cat that doesn't always like to have a lot of attention on her, whether it be vehicles, and she's always been like this with her cubs. She's always been a little on the sort of grumpy side when it comes to their behavior. You can see those tails going. What a special sighting this is. I love that she's as grumpy as she's being right now. Makes me laugh. And also we can be glad that they're on this particular mound right now. Also the reason why she's the way that she is because she doesn't want to come down and not be able to see where this hyena is. You see how she's watching because her cub is now coming down towards the hyenas, which is not surprising given how he is. I know the other day when they want to kill here, he was chasing hyenas around, which is what he seems like he's going to be doing now. But he's going to learn very valuable lessons very quickly that hyenas are not going to take kindly to his shenanigans and will chase him back, although this hyena is giving away to him. Interesting. I didn't expect him to have enough sort of oomph to be able to chase hyena or to make hyena feel intimidated. I think the hyena's realized that there's no food here, and so that's why it's moving off. And he's kind of following. Mom is not going to be impressed at all. She's eventually going to start probably following and making sure that she keeps up with where he is. Jackson, yes, most definitely. She would intervene if he gets into trouble. She would go and try and defend him. Ultimately, though, he's of the size now that if a hyena was to try and chase, he would be able to go up into the tree, which would be good for her. She wouldn't have to do too much. But if a hyena hypothetically got near him, she would most certainly run straight towards where that hyena is and would do something about it. She wouldn't let her little boy get hurt without actually making sure that she sorts it out. Oh, she looks beautiful today. She's such a pretty cat. It's part of the reason why I enjoy spending so much time with her, is that not only is she, this incredible mom, and she's lived quite a long life now, and has been successful at raising all these cubs, but it's the fact that she's a pretty leopard as well. I mean, she's starting to show a little bit of her age now. Her ears are starting to get a little bit tatty, and, she's not as kind of youthful as she once was, but she's still got a very cute little face. I always have enjoyed what Tandi looks like, and she's provided me with probably more than most leopards have. I've been absolutely spoilt in my time with her. I've seen pretty much all of her cubs, and I've seen, particularly in the last little bit, being the first one to kind of spend time with Lalamba, the first to find her next litter. It's been kind of a nice sort of time spent with her, and for all the kind of faults that she has, and that she can be a little bit on the grumpy side at times, she really is a special cat, and I have all the time in the world for her. Like I say, if I can spend every day with her, I would be happy. It wouldn't faze me in the slightest. Alright, so I will sit with these two as long as we can. In the meantime, let's send you back across the sea with something beautiful to show you.
I've no doubt, Tristan, that you would, and you have, and you do, and you've been tracking Tandi for a very, very long time. Well, everybody, we've just stopped to enjoy a little bit of the mountain range once again. We don't really get to see it like this from Juma. Dragon's Back Mountain, and there is the tallest part of it in this area, called Maripskop. There's pretty much all the communications comes from. So without that little high point there, I don't think anything of what we do here or in Juma would be possible, if I'm not mistaken. That's the highest point over there, and it's very, very beautiful. You can actually get up there by vehicle, apparently. I haven't done it yet. Apparently it's a bit of a mission with your car. I think you need the right kind of vehicle to do so. But the Dragon's Back Mountains, you do helicopter rides in and around the valleys and the canyon. The Blyder River Canyon is just down the bottom there. Blyder River Dam, which I've no doubt has been overflowing. The Blyder River flows into the Olifants, which then flows just north of where we are. The Olifants basically cuts off the northern parts of Belule. Of course, Sabi, many people do all the time. I haven't done it yet. There's quite a few trails up and down, lots and lots of interesting trees and forest sections along. I've done small bits in and around, but there's such diversity around the mountain. Mountain ranges provide enormous amounts of diversity, everybody, because they create their own weather. Zanin, for example, which is just further up the drag from Maripskop, has got its own weather system. It's got beautiful indigenous forest, Afro-montane forest, the like of which you find down in the garden route, which is also created like that because of the mountains. So mountains have a very important factor in what they do, because they're elevated and they're basically a big wall. Moisture vapor that is in gas form hits them and pushes up. And it pushes up until it hits what we call the dew point. And you can kind of see where that cloud is forming above it there, that there's a dew point there. There's sort of like that bottom layer, sort of like a ceiling And that ceiling is exactly a specific height, and it's a specific temperature that causes the liquid to turn from an invisible gas into a cloud. And that is what mountains actually do. Mountains help with that. Obviously, a lot of weather is created on its own, but mountains force any water vapor that's coming in from the ocean to go upwards, and that's what causes enormous amounts of rainfall. And so it actually causes rainfall closer to the mountains than further away, but often it will hit that mountain range and push back again, falling on many of the places we have around here. But invariably you'd find a higher rainfall in and around the mountainous region, because it's like a big bucket of water that suddenly needs to be released. It gets very heavy, so it suddenly is there, a lot of it falls down, and some of it can move further away and form rain elsewhere. But very picturesque, the Drakensberg mountain, much of it pushed up by the departure of the Eurasian continent in India on our eastern side of the country, where Gondwana land was all once formed before, and as it pushed away, the underlying sort of craters, or should I say, what are they called? Vaults, would have moved, and they would have pushed huge amounts of earth up. So the Drakensberg actually slants at an angle. Lucy, age 8, you want to know what animals we'll find up there? Well, there's actually a reserve up there that has got everything from elephants to leopards. Steph, who works with us, actually went with a few people last year, I think. It was very hard to get to. Steph went hiking into the valleys there, and there's baboon and there'll be monkey. There's probably even some mango monkeys in some of the foresty sections. There would be hyraxes. No doubt there'd be some black eagles, rose eagles, but there'd be enormous amount. The Taita falcon, which is a very rare and endangered bird. There's actually nesting sites in and around those mountains of that bird species. And general game like Impala and maybe some mountain reedbuck and the like. Klipspringer, I'm sure we would find there. But it's a very difficult area to access, so there'll be quite a few very, very, very wild animals moving in and around. And as I said, there is a nature reserve somewhere in there, I can't remember what its name is called, that has got elephant and no doubt leopard. Leopard occur all over the place, and well, it would be wonderful to go through and have a look, but we're going to spend another moment just enjoying this beautiful scene.
Hi, I'm Sue. I'm from South Africa, and I'm the incredibly lucky winner of the Tswalu competition. Tswalu has so much to offer, but we're really looking forward to the game viewing options, as going out with a personal guide who has so much knowledge will just be exceptional. Motsi Lodge looks absolutely amazing, and we're so looking forward to spending time there. It really is out of this world. I only registered as an explorer towards the end of January, so when the email arrived stating that I was the winner, it took me totally by surprise. I'd just like to thank WildEarth and Tswalu for this most incredible prize. It really is a dream come true.
WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
Riverbeds are a great way to find water and look for places where elephant have excavated hollows. You can then dig into the sand, and after a couple of feet you should find damp sand, which then can be squeezed out or siphoned off for water. And with water being one of our scarcest resources, it is a good idea to conserve water where and how you can.
My name is Ross, and I'm a field guide at andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on WildEarth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
Something very, very interesting.
I didn't plan this, but this is a scene rarely seen. This is what we call a journey of giraffe. So beautiful.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
We're still with Tandi in the cub. She's still posing beautifully. He's just being, well, him. He's bounding around all over the show, can't sit still for more than 2 seconds, irritates her, then goes down and chases impalas around and lies on stumps and generally just has ants in his pants, which is pretty typical of him and his age group. Most leopards of that age, irrespective of male or female, are pretty playful, but males particularly tend to be quite boisterous when they reach this sort of age group. So I suspect that he won't sit still for long. He keeps kind of looking at Mom from where he's sitting. He's at the base of the mountain. He's going to come up back to her now, which will be cool. Let's just keep quiet and listen if we can hear anything. Fortunately, the car ruined my sound experiment to see if she was going to talk to him or not. There is also a male lion that's roaring very close. It doesn't sound like he's far at all, maybe just on the other side of Chitwa Dam. She doesn't seem to be too perturbed by it at this stage, but there's definitely a lion around in the area as well. It's come closer since we first heard it down at the dam. When we were kind of looking at the birds and the hippos. It's definitely moving towards Chitwa rather than away from. And is 100% a leopard can hunt at night. In fact, they're actually more suited to hunting in low light conditions. You see those two eyes that are kind of positioned in the front of the head. That's all for judging of distance, obviously, so that doesn't matter whether it's day or night, but they have what we don't have. So in our eyes, we've got two cells, rods and cones. Leopards are the same. They also have rods and cones in their eyes. But basically, cones are color cells, rods are light cells. Now, in our eyes, we have quite a good balance between them, which means that we get an incredible amount of color perception, but very poor low light sight. So, at night, obviously, we can't see anything. Whereas with a leopard, they've sacrificed a lot of their color vision to be able to see in the dark. So they have a lot more rod cells, and that means that they are able to see even in fairly dark conditions, which is pretty cool. It's amazing. So enjoying these two this morning. The tails, though, are my favorite. They're so expressive in a leopard. So that, coupled with that, they've got whiskers, an incredible sense of smell means that at night they are able to start seeing a lot better than a lot of the prey animals, and then they come into their own. These two together are an absolute treat. Yes, I mean, they won't know exactly, okay, there's a leopard, but this lion probably can hear these alarm calls. And so from that, it will start to come into this area to investigate. It knows when they're shouting like this for long periods that there's a possibility of food. So they'll know that, or if they hear a leopard calling, or they, those kinds of things will all indicate. They don't pay much attention to like scent mark or tracks of a leopard unless it's very, very fresh and there's a drag mark or something like that. Then you'll find that lions will start to pay attention, but otherwise they really aren't too interested in what leopards get up to. It's only when there's a potential for food do they start to pay attention. And in this case, when there's lots of alarm calls like this, it can attract lions to the area and they can arrive. If lions were to arrive right now, what you'll find is these leopards will go straight up into trees if the lion gets too close, and they'll get to the top branches where a lion won't be able to reach. And the lion will then sniff around, look around, and if it can't find a carcass in the trees, often they then just walk off or they flop down close by, and the leopard unfortunately has to stay up the tree for the rest of the day and wait it out. Oh, look at the symmetry in that, though, of the two of them, kind of in opposite ways. So cool. Yeah, he is naughty. He's not giving her a break between pulling her tail on her head, various other things that he's been getting up to. He's been naughty. Oliver can be, not always. It really just depends on what actually happens. But yes, they can be fatal. If two leopards come to blows and there is, some sort of claw tooth that goes into the wrong place, they can kill one another. It's normally not a common thing when it comes to leopards fighting. Generally it's a brief encounter and then they kind of move and leave each other alone, but it can happen, particularly with big male leopards on younger individuals. That is something that does happen. Whenever leopards come together, you don't want them to fight. Lion leopard, obviously lions are so much bigger, so much heavier, that there really isn't much of a competition there at all. He's going to bound on her again. Look, he's a naughty face, this little one, and seems as though he's bored. So Mom, I'm sure, is going to get some semblance of irritation at some point again. It's not going to be a restful morning for her for now, until such time as she gets irritated enough that she then leaves and goes and does her own thing. Now he's disappeared off. Now he's heading back towards the impalas. She's just still watching, being a good mom. Basically, she's allowing him to do what he wants and play and live a sort of carefree life. In the meantime, though, she's watching, she's looking, she's making sure that nothing is happening around that could potentially endanger him. Alright, well, we'll stay with the two of them and let's see what happens. In the meantime, let's send you to Steve, who's gone to a waterhole.
Hello everybody. Well, it is that time of morning when it's time to stop and smell the roses, and in that I mean have a cup of coffee. Well, the clouds you can see above our head have all sort of hit the mountain and are all bouncing back. So the weather system that I said seems to be growing. You might not even notice a lot of the weather that's coming off the ocean, but as it moves inland and hits the mountains, as I said before, then pushes it up. And because the mountains are quite high, it doesn't invariably go over, and that pushes it back. So we're now getting this build-up of cloud formation in our area, and that's actually causing the wind to change direction. Now the wind is blowing directly towards us from the mountains, which is often sort of the prelude to weather coming in, because the weather's actually coming from the ocean. But because the ocean is building up, it actually starts to suck wind and air from inland, and then it turns. So you don't get a storm coming in from the east before the wind blows towards the east. It sort of sucks it, and then you get this whole turnaround event. So it definitely feels like it's changing, and the warm morning I thought we might have is now turning into a lovely overcast sort of morning, but a nice morning to stop and just spend time at what is now my favorite watering hole here on Pridelands. This is Leopard Dam. Kylie, the water's brown because it has got a lot of sediment in it. Lots of water has run off. We've had a lot of rainfall, and the rain has picked up mud and debris along the way, and that is what you're seeing in the water. So it's not clean, crystal clean running water. It's murky, perfect crocodile hunting sort of water, and that is because erosion is a natural thing, and a lot of sediment has been deposited in these watering holes, and erosion is the movement of soil from one place to another, and water is the most obvious of conductors. I wonder how many of you can name the other conductors of erosion. We've got another one is very prominent, another one we talk about quite regularly. So there's two very prominent ones that we could add to the list. I wonder how many of you out there are feeling on your A game this morning. What are the two other major conductors of erosion in this area and around? It's very, very simple answers. It's not a trick question, really. Not a trick question. And the one is actually in a number of different sorts of situations, but you could group it as one. Send through your answers, #WildEarth, throw it in on the YouTube chat stream. A little bit of a quiz this morning. Water is a major conductor of sediment through the process of erosion. What other conductors do we often talk about? What other mechanisms of erosion do we talk about? I'd love to hear from you this morning. We listen to the hornbills, the buffalo weavers. Let's quickly send you over to Trish.
Managed to finally catch up with the dogs. Just watch. Oh, gotta love it, the way they just bounce through the grass like that. Very exciting. I'm so glad that they came this way so we can actually show them to you. When we first found them, it was such an awkward place and we couldn't actually show them to you, so I'm very, very glad that they're playing ball. Well, you know how it is to follow dogs, and obviously we don't want to off-road, so we're going to hope that they stay on the road. There's a herd of Impala not too far from here that we just passed, because we thought that the dogs were going to be further south, and then they met us before we thought, and I think it's just near that tree there that the Impala are. It's just... You know, when they start to hunt, it's just chaos. As soon as they move in, I'm going to move too. All right, let's go. Exciting stuff. Nothing like wild dogs, especially at this time. The sun's starting to come up now, so they're going to settle down soon. Just watch them from here. So those Impala are way further, well, not that much, but just a little bit further north, and they're moving in the opposite direction. Oh, there's obviously some water there. It's so difficult to see with the tall grass. But you can hear the water, right? Awesome. James, you say yay. So good to see the doggies. It's been a fantastic morning, hasn't it? Dogs, hyenas, leopards. Hopefully not going to get stuck. elephants, and some birds. Hello, guys. Amazing. So quiet, listening around. So now they're looking and are facing the direction of where those impala were. And when they move really, really fast. You know, they can reach speeds up to about 70 kilometers per hour, which is incredibly fast for a predator. But if you look at their body, so lean, built for running. Timothy, you'd like to know why they're walking in a line like this? They're not actually walking in a line. It may look that way, but there are some that are further away from us, quite close to us, so they kind of look like they're in a line, but they're not really walking in a line. They're just walking in the same general direction, which is towards those impala. I'm going to get back onto that road so I don't get stuck. And they look like they're going to come out there anyway. I can't off-road, so let's not get stuck. Problem with this long grass, yep, they're on the move again, is that if there is a hole or something like that, or a patch of water, you can't see it. You know, in the time it took us to turn around, the dogs could have already gotten to Impala and gotten to those Impala and caught one. Okay, thought I saw them. With the long grass, it's also difficult to see them, but luckily their large ears will help them stand out. They haven't come back on. Got them. Cool. Yep, okay. Pop out now. Still running parallel. They are. You'll find that impalas almost don't even have time to alarm when they see wild dogs coming. I think we might be in for a bit of a hunt. Favorite wild dog hunting scenes or shots are the ones there on quarantine where it's clear. So clear that you can see for quite a while. At the moment, not exactly too clear, but not bad. Oh, hello, gorgeous. So amazing to see these creatures, and we're so fortunate that we get to see them so often. Being endangered, and there only being about 5,000 in the wild in the world, or well, in Africa at all. So persecuted, but here we are, getting to enjoy them. You can see the sunshine side come out now, so perhaps they'll be quietening down. I'm just going to turn off the road a little bit so the vehicle behind us can have a view as well. So glad we got to catch up with them. So glad. Let's just do this. Off they go. Okay, well, we're going to try and follow them, see if they lead us to those impala, and must send you over to Phinda in the meantime.
Wow, it sounds like it's really exciting over at Juma. Meanwhile, at Phinda we found a herd of elephants. You can see there are a few of them, I think, in your shot. And you can see the closest one to us now is actually just having a scratch. And notice her tusks are really, really interesting, actually. You'll see that the tusk on the right is a little bit dislodged in terms of it's a little bit lower down. And that often happens because elephants are actually, they prefer one side. They prefer to use one side just like we do, right or left-handed. Wow, you can see a few more coming now into the screen, just a little bit further behind her. And what they do is they'll prefer to use one tusk like we, right or left-handed, and that's possibly why this one is a little bit dislodged, just because it's been used a lot more over the years. You can see she's actually trying to pick the freshest leaves from that tree in front of her. It served as both a scratching post and a lovely source of food too. I say she, it is quite difficult to tell with elephants if it's a male or female. You can look between the legs. Also a good indication is her forehead. So if you see her forehead has got quite a sharp angle to it. And that's how we tell whether it's a male or female. So a male has a much more rounded forehead than females do. My name is Angus, and behind the camera today we've got Simon. Thanks for joining us on your live safari this morning at Phinda. And I was going to mention, we saw her eat leaves earlier, and you'll notice that most of them are actually eating the grass. So during the rainy season, elephants much prefer to eat grass. It's soft on their teeth, which eventually do wear down over the years. Kendra, yes, they can lift things with their tusks. Sometimes they'll flick mud up to try and dislodge it and loosen it with their tusks, and then they'll actually use their trunk to throw it all over themselves. And when they are very angry and aggressive, they can lift up very heavy objects to try and scare things away. I've even seen videos of elephants flipping cars over with their tusks. So yes, they certainly can lift things with them. Their tusks also help them strip bark away from trees, so in the drier months elephants will basically eat anything that they can, because they have to eat a lot. They are big animals. And during the winter months, bark is actually quite a good source of food for them. So they'll use their tusks to get in between the trunk of a tree and its bark, and that will actually help them strip the bark off of the tree, and then they'll pull it away with their trunk and eat it. So now we're looking at a young male. Remember I mentioned the forehead of the female? And you'll see that this one has slightly more rounded forehead. We're going to stay with these elephants and send you over to Tristan with his spots.
Well, we are still with our spots, and we've had quite possibly one of my favorite Tandi sightings I have ever had. These two have been playing like nobody's business on this tree. There's been grabbing, there's been tails, there's been all kinds of things. Look at this, and it's just ridiculous what's happening at the moment. This little cub has been an absolute treat. He keeps jumping on mom and keeps making her life incredibly difficult. Like I say, he grabs her tail, he pulls at it, and it's almost like she's wanting to kind of, I don't know, maybe teach him a little bit because she's engaging with it. Look, there we go. Isn't this cool? The two of them have been like this for a long time now. They've both been messing around, grabbing each other's tails, and just generally going crazy. It's been such a cool sighting. Oh, there we go. And they've, like I say, been up and down the tree stump. Well, him more so than her. She's kind of been just sitting, watching out, but he has been all over the place. He's fallen out the tree twice. And like I say, he keeps grabbing her tail and kind of pulling on it, which makes her angry, and then she snarls at him, and then he jumps out the tree, and then he's back up again. It's just been the most wonderful sighting in terms of a playfulness between the two of them. They might pop up onto this mound again, so because of that, I'm just going to go back slightly. I don't want to be this close if they do pop up. It'll be... I can't even see them right now. I suspect, though, that they will pop up onto this mound at some point. The two of them are playing so much at the moment that it's going to be a situation where one of them is going to make some sort of a move at some stage. They're going to not kind of sit still for very long. Tandi might lie down, but Marips will definitely not. There she goes. She's back up on her log. I don't think it will be long, and he will be with her on top there as well. All right, well, we'll sit with these guys for as long as we possibly can this morning because it is the most joyful sighting. In the meantime, though, let's send you across to Trish with the wild dogs.
Here they are again. This road is so wet, and I'm just loving it. Hearing them splashing around in the water, they're all muddy. And this tall, beautiful grass. This must be such a gift for them to be able to cool down when it gets hot. Instead of just finding shade, they can find a nice patch of water in the shade. Can you hear them moving through the grass ever so slightly? I think it's come to that time. Most of them have moved towards the thick bushes. So definitely seeking some cooler areas. Look how beautiful that coat is. It's just magnificent to watch them. Each coat absolutely unique. Some so much more blonder than others. Leopard lover, you'd like to know how the smell is. Pretty normal, must say. They haven't come extremely close. And I don't find their smell too offensive. Yeah, they're squealing. It kind of smells a little bit musty, to me at least. Each to their own when it comes to smells, I've learned in my wisdom. But I think they smell a little bit like a musk bull, elephant bull and must. It looks like they've settled underneath those bushes now. We don't have a visual. Oh, there's one again. Can you imagine you were an unsuspecting herbivore walking along this road? You will never see them. And that goes for any predator at the moment. All right. Looks like We have no visual now, but we're going to move on and see if we can catch them on the main road. And we'll see you when we do.
As many of you know by now, one of our beloved leopard characters, Hukumuri, recently passed away. I would like to invite you to join me on Saturday the 20th of February as I take an intimate look into his life and pay tribute to the incredible cat that he was. I'm looking forward to seeing you around the fire at 7:30 p.m. Central African Time.
So in 1998, we had this idea to go and put a live web camera on a waterhole somewhere in the Sabi sands next to the Kruger National Park. And I approached just about every single landowner and everybody thought I was completely crazy until I met Yuri and Pippa Moorman.
We thought it was definitely a fun idea and a worthwhile thing to experiment.
And it immediately became a runaway success. And it gave people all around the world the opportunity to watch a little piece of Africa day and night. Back in 1998, it was the very early stages of the internet. And all we were able to do was to get a 30-second refreshing JPEG out of that camera. But over time, what we began to do is focus more and more on trying to develop this concept of giving people the opportunity to go on safari.
Even though we live just 500 meters up this hill, we still put the camera on to see what's happening.
Absolutely, we watch it ourselves.
My name is Taylor McCurdy and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on WildEarth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the live safari page and submit your questions below the live feed.
This is a battle of two great carnivores of the African wilderness. Whew. Whoa! You don't want to be under those jaws. Definitely, this round goes to the lion. Look at that. Fantastic.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth.
Welcome back to Leopard Dam, everybody, and well, we can see the purpose of the tambuti roots and the trees and grasses is to hold ground and hold sediment to anchor it to the ground along riverbeds. There are many trees and grasses that do this job beautifully well. Mangroves and the like, plants that are designed to prevent moving water from flooding and eroding away the sediment. Obviously, not all the sediment is kept behind, but most of it, a lot of it gets held in place in natural conditions by vegetation. So I'm wondering if there's been any answers through about the other two types or mechanisms of erosion that are quite commonly spoken about. One is very profound and very obvious. Can also be a little bit painful sometimes. And the other one is something we see and talk about all the time on this show. Friday quiz time. Well, this tree in front of us can give us a very good... It doesn't seem as if any answers have come through, everybody. That's a pity. This beautiful leadwood tree receives an enormous amount of attention from animals. where they scratch and rub. And of course, that is a form of erosion, and the fact that the animals themselves carry the mud and the sediment away and create dams and puddles and pans. Obviously, they've got itches to scratch and ticks to remove. So in the process of that, they do move sediment from one place to another, and many of the pans we see around are naturally formed by elephants, buffalo and rhino and their antics, warthogs. I didn't get that last one from McLeod, but obviously water. He also said wind, and you said rock. I suppose rock is a type of erosion, but rock is essentially weathering. When a rock breaks down, parental rock breaks down, we call it weathering, and that is the breakdown of parental material, whereas erosion is the movement of sediment from one place to another. So wind, very obvious one, sand dunes that we've seen around. All the beaches in the world are all a response to the fact that the rivers have spewed all that sediment out from inland, and then the waves have pushed it back up onto the shore, and then the wind moves that sediment up and down the beach. If you've ever walked on the beach on a very windy day without long pants on, you can feel the pain, and you suffer quite a bit when that wind and the sand hits you on the legs. Have you ever had that, Johan? Yeah, it's not a nice day to be on the beach. You often find on windy days people go and hide in sheltered areas. Where my dad lives up on the west coast of Cape Town, the wind there can be very, very bad all the time, and that's constantly shifting and moving the sand, shifting and moving. And in South Africa we have a general movement of sediment from the east. So from Durban side, or from above Durban, around the coastline towards the west. It's a natural movement due to the currents, the warm Benguela, the warm Mozambican current, or Benguela current, that generally brings the sediment downstream. That's a constant process, and in high tides and in high seas, you get a lot of sediment deposited, but you can also have a lot of sediment removed off of the beach. Deb, so ice doesn't actually create erosion as far as I'm aware. Maybe there's a degree of erosion in ice, but glaciers, when they move, they can weather rock. So it's the same process as rocks breaking down other rocks, process known as weathering. So glaciers around the world in certain places, I've never been to a glacier, but they have enormous impact. Glaciers are actually almost living entities. They're moving along the ground, and they're able to carve and change huge pieces of sort of rock face underneath. You actually see these massive big marks that are made by glacial movements. But the other one that we were looking for, that I've discussed a little bit now, is animals picking up sediment. Just like if you go walking outside in your boots and you come back with the mud in your house, you've just done erosion, everybody. That sand that you bring from the beach and ends up in your bed because you didn't wash your feet, yes, that's the most annoying kind of erosion you might find. Or when your dog comes home from the beach and he decides to jump all over the couch with the fur. We've all experienced that, haven't we? Yes, erosion. So very natural forms. It's a movement of soil from one place to another. Weathering is the breaking down of parental rock material into a sort of sediment type soil, the minerals. Very good. And that is why the water is murky and brown, because of the erosion that has taken place to put it in there. Okay, well, we're probably going to move on from our spotted leopard dam and send you over to Tristan, who's actually got some spots of his own.
we do have spots. We have our little rubbish that's just walked past us, and Mom's still going, yes, Tandi, I know you're upset with your cub harassing you, but it's okay. There's also a buffalo behind us, which is something I haven't seen in ages. A lone bull buffalo is not something we get to see a lot of these days. It's either a herd or nothing. I wonder what his reaction will be to these guys. They sometimes can be quite cantankerous, can buffaloes. It'll be interesting to see. I also wonder how many times this little one has seen buffalo. Not huge amounts of buffalo hanging around in the areas that he's spent his life so far. I wonder how interested he would be. He doesn't seem to be too interested at all. Where are they going, though? I don't understand. She's going back to the original direction that we were heading when we first found them this morning, before he got out of control and started chasing impalas all over the place. So I don't really know where they're off to. This is the furthest kind of south west on Chitwa that I've seen them. I mean, they're going to basically the dam wall and behind, which is where pretty much Sabi and the cubs have spent a lot of their time. So it's interesting to me that she's spending time here. I wouldn't have expected her to be in this general area. I would have expected her to be a lot more kind of to the north and the west, east of where we are right now. Anyway, let's follow her and see where she is going. Maybe there's a kill that she's made. You know, often when they're on their own little missions, they can sometimes come across things and make a kill in an area that's not quite where they normally hang out. It's possible. We're just going to be a little bit careful because we're quite low on the slope now. And so I don't want to cause any damage or ruts or anything like that. It looks all right for now. It's quite a sandy clearing this. It's not very kind of black cottony. So we should be okay. It's there in that corner where the jackalberry is, where the termite mound, that gets very, very damp very quickly. You just need to watch out on that side. I don't think they're going to stay here, though. I mean, I expect that she's marching to go somewhere to go and lie down in the shade if she doesn't have a kill. But the way that she's moving just strikes me as almost like a kill. And I think the reason we saw her sitting on that termite mound for as long as she did was to... Let's just go back. There's a termite mound right here that she might come on to. They're just on our left-hand side. It's difficult to see them in these wealth areas, but they are just here. I wonder if she just didn't stay on that termite mound because of all the commotion. She didn't want to go to wherever she wanted to lead this cub while there was that hyena around and the noise of that lion. She wants to just wait and see. And so once she checked that the coast was clear, no hyena was following her, because she keeps going up and looking around just to check, then I think she's going to kind of lead him in the direction that she wants to take him. This is the original path that she was on, is where we are right now, is originally where she was heading towards. So she's definitely got an idea in mind about where she's going. And if this little one stops jumping all over her, she'll probably get there at some point. It's been so cool to watch the two of them. You know, she's, like I say, she's not the most patient of mothers. She definitely loses her temper pretty quickly. But this morning she's actively engaged with this cub a lot more than I've seen her in the past. You know, she has snarled and hissed and done her normal thing, but at the same time, she's groomed him a lot and looked after him and kind of played a little bit with him. So it's been an interesting sighting in many respects from that point of view. All right, we'll stay, like I say, with them now as far as I can. Once they go down towards the back of Chitwa Dam Wall, if they go over, I can't follow anymore. In the meantime, though, let's send you across to Nick, who's sitting at a dam himself.
Welcome back to andBeyond in Ngala, everyone, and as you can see, we have made our way to one of the watering holes as it's got a little bit warmer this morning. There's not much going on here. Our resident hippos are around, and you can see already there were two there that might pop up, but there are also a few species of water birds around. And if you have a look, you'll see there's the two darker ones on the left with the beautiful white faces. Those are the white-faced whistling ducks, and just to the right of them, the three white ones with the beautiful blackish heads and blackish backs are the knob-billed ducks, and they seem to be resting on the side of the waterhole for now. I've been watching them feed a little bit, looking for any aquatic plants and aquatic insects that may be around, which they supplement their diet with, and I'm sure you can hear the loud squawking of the Egyptian geese in the background as well. We've been watching these ducks quite carefully. They seem to be going about their business as usual, and every now and then one of the territorial Egyptian geese tend to fly over there and try and chase them away. And Dan always mentions how the geese always chase every animal that is at the waterhole, but you can hear the white-faced whistling ducks calling as well. And it has got a little bit overcast. The clouds have come blown in from the south. There is a southerly wind blowing over this waterhole. It's brought a little bit of relief from the sun. And it's quite a nice morning that we have here at Ngala. We did head towards the lioness in the den site, and she was there, but it was in very thick bush. So we didn't have a very good view of her, and she wasn't coming out to give us a nice look at her. So we did leave her, and that's why we decided to come back into the eastern part of Ngala, back to Clara Dam. And nice to see that the hippos are here. I'm sure that they spent a long night moving around this area. They don't have to move too far. I think Riley was asking about frog nests and sociable weaver nests. So the sociable weaver nests, I'm sure you've seen them a couple of times at Tswalu, but unfortunately we don't get them in this part of South Africa. They just don't occur here. It's not ideal habitat for them. And frog nests, quickly going to have a scan with my binoculars and see if I can't find a frog nest. Okay, Odie has found another bird nest, not a sociable weaver nest, but have a look at those big nests in that dead tree. And they're not as big as the sociable weaver nests, but it is definitely the biggest bird nest that we get here at andBeyond Ngala. And those nests are of the red-billed buffalo weavers. And there are... Well, there's one there, sort of in the middle of the tree. It's not a great view of it, but interesting nest. And just like those sociable weavers, the red-billed buffalo weavers are also communal breeders. So inside those nests that are built by a male, or sometimes 2 or 3 males within the... Oh, look at the hippos, jeepers. Built within the colony. Sorry, Odie, they jumped out of the water and then disappeared again. And then there'll be a bunch of females in those nests as well. And they'll each have their own tunnel and their own little area where they'll lay their eggs and raise their youngsters. So that nest is probably the closest we get to the sociable weaver nest. And the frog nests, I'm sure there's 1 or 2 foam nest frogs underneath one of these trees overhanging the water, but we don't have a good view of them from here. There's usually quite prominent nests on some of the logs around the waterhole as well, but the water has come up quite a lot with all the rain that we've had, and we can't seem to see any of them from the position we're currently sitting at. And with the frogs, they often will tend to nest and breed in smaller ponds and smaller water or areas that hold water, pan systems. These big dams are a little bit, or they get their nests are a little bit exposed to things that might eat them and look for the eggs and the frogs themselves. On the hippo, Eddie. And you can see a beautiful hippo there with just its ears and eyes out and nostrils. And I'm sure they're enjoying the relief from the sun as well with a little bit of cloud cover. Before Riley's question, the hippos, I'm sure they spent the majority of their night feeding around here. There's beautiful green grass for them to feed on. But for now, we're going to send you over to Phinda with my good friend Angus, who has a couple elephants.
Thanks, Nick. So, unlike hippos, elephants will spend the majority of their day feeding. And they'll also spend some of the night feeding. Because they're such big animals, you can see that most of them are actually just resting at the moment. And some of the reason why they spend so much time feeding is because they're actually not very efficient in terms of how much of the nutrients they actually absorb. So how a lot of the other bigger animals in the African bush survive is they have quite a few stomachs. So they're known as ruminants, similar to cattle, well, just like cattle actually. And their 4 stomachs will help them get as much as they can out of the food they eat. Elephants, on the other hand, only have 1 stomach, which which means that they don't extract as much nutrients from their food as animals like buffalo or some of the antelope would, for example. So what these elephants would do then is they basically just spend a large portion of their day eating, and they're quite an important part of the ecosystem because they eat so much, they move long distances, and they're actually able to spread a lot of seeds. So by eating things like marula fruit and any other fruit actually, their seeds will stay in their stomach as they move, and a few hours later then it'll come out the other side, and it'll just help the dispersal of seeds and fruit, for example. But like I mentioned earlier, it looks like a lot of them are having a rest. You see there's a few of them all gathered in one place, and actually saw some dust getting thrown up now. So perhaps they are throwing some dust over their bodies to help them get rid of a few pests. They actually look quite clean behind their ears. If you notice, when that one that's facing away from us does flap their ears there. And now you can see that dust getting thrown in behind the ear as well. Well, this one's actually just crashing the party. So you can see now that those ones that are standing still are, looks like every now and then throwing dust over their bodies. And it's interesting how they decide when to start moving and when to start feeding again. It looks like now, all of a sudden, things have started to happen again. Bernie, tough question to answer exactly. There are basically two major herds that we know of on the reserve. There's a herd that usually spends its time up in the north of the reserve, which is where these members are from. Oh, no way, a little one has just come into shot. I was really hoping that we'd be able to see it. And if you look closely at it, you can even still see a lot of fur around its head, which as elephants get older, you don't really get to see. Look at how it's not very good with its trunk. So you can imagine with hundreds of different types of muscles in its trunk, it's very, very difficult to actually learn how to use it properly, and it takes quite a long time. I really hope this one keeps moving so we can get a shot of the little one again. Don't want to take away anything from him though. It looks like he stopped to feed. So Bernie, I'll get back to your question. Sorry, I just got distracted. There are two major herds, and these ones I presume are from up in the north, but during the rainy season all the elephants seem to come and spend the majority of their time in the south of the reserve, where there's a lot of fresh grass growing. Elephants are also quite partial to sweet water and fresh water, so I think a reason, there we can see it again, a reason why they come south is because it's more mountainous here, and water's a little bit more fast flowing, which probably means it's a little bit cleaner in terms of that water up in the north, which is a big, large, flat area of the reserve, and the water just sits stagnant for quite a long time. So I think that could be a reason why they are in the south. But they do often break up into smaller herds. Wow. So I'd say two major herds, but from time to time, even up to 10, even more, 20 different herds of elephants on their own, especially in the dry season when there's a lot of competition for food. Then elephants tend to spread far out so that they're not competing with so many different elephants close together. Wow, what a pleasure. I'm so happy. And you notice the little one stays very close to its mother, but not very bothered by us being here at all, which is awesome. I love being able to watch animals as naturally as possible. And it's important that here at Phinda we look after the animals and just judge how their behavior and make sure that they are comfortable with us being around them at all times, which is, as you can see from this circumstance, it's really, really great to to just sit and watch them. And it's sad that the animals in Africa are really having a tough time finding places to live. Wow, this one here is starting to just show a little bit of interest in us. We'll give her a few more meters and we might actually have to start moving off, but no, everything's okay. So like I was saying, it's important that we spread the word about these wild animals and make sure that they do have places to live, because obviously they can't live in harmony with people very easily, and there are places around the world that it is happening, but there is always problems. People with livestock struggle with some of the predators, and even elephants, which crop farmers, the elephants will be very destructive to any type of crops really. So it's important that these areas like Phinda and big reserves like the Kruger National Park remain very well known and people keep coming to them. Wow, so special to be here at the moment. So once again, we're going to carry on sitting with these elephants. This is really, really special. And we'll send you over to Tristan with his leopard.
Well, as you can see, this is the last view we're going to get of Tandi and the cub. They're going into an inaccessible spot now. No matter how much we try, we won't be able to get anywhere near there. It's completely flooded this section. And the games have not stopped either. It really has been one of the most magical mornings with these two. I had the best time. They've played since the moment we found them and are still playing now. I don't know where she's taking him or why she's taking him into this area. I mean, it's possible, I suppose, that she just wants to hide him out in this drainage line, but it's so flooded, it makes me, I don't understand why she would bring him into this wet section and not towards those rocks that he's used so much before. I don't know, maybe she's got something in this area. That's also possible, given, you know, the way that she's walking kind of into a certain direction. She keeps looking and scanning around as though she doesn't want anything to follow her. So maybe there's something here. I don't know. It's tricky to say, but there is 0.000 chance of us getting anywhere near where she's heading now. We could maybe go a little bit further forward, but even then, I doubt it. All right, well, we're going to carry on. We'll leave these two to it. I mean, we've been absolutely spoiled this morning. Meantime, let's send you across to Trishalo, who seems like she's being spoiled too, and has a surprise for all of you.
I do have a surprise, and we're really, really far away from Juma at the moment. We're quite on the boundary of the Manyaleti. And here we found this gorgeous girl. Now, she looks to be a cub. I have no idea who it is. So if you do know who it is, let me know. It's just up in this marula. Look at that face. Hello, gorgeous. First time I'm seeing her. She's quite little. Maybe just under a year. And she's peacefully been sitting on this marula right on the boundary of the Manyaleti and Buffelshoek. So she's got a good view of everything that's going on. She's been watching some Impala. We thought we'd just take a chance and come this way, see if we could share it with you, and thankfully, through everyone's hard work, we managed to. James, Richard, you reckon it's Cara? You say it's Cara? That's amazing. I haven't seen Cara in a long time. And she's all the way here. The last time I saw Cara was a couple months back, and she was moving all about. She is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I must say she's smaller than I thought she was, size-wise. Because Kara is about 2 years old. She looked a little smaller, but you know, she kind of looks like Shadudu. Oh, this is so wonderful. So it's interesting to note where she is. Because usually when we'd see Kara, it would be in Simbambili, which is southwest of here. And now she's in Buffelshoek. It didn't actually even occur to me to think about Kara in this area. Grant, she said that she's beautiful. Absolutely. But then again, Grant, have you seen a leopard that isn't beautiful? But it's hard not to express how wonderful it is when you do see them. Kara in the tree. She's actually got a great view of people coming into and exiting the Sabi sands. They wouldn't be able to see her, but I'm sure she could see them. What a splendid thought to think that when you drive in or out of the Sabi sands, there may be a leopard in a tree that's watching you before your adventure even begins or as your adventure is coming to a close. So Kara would be 3 towards the end of this year. Sometimes I think of her as the Tlalamba of the West. So I remember when Tlalamba was this size and younger. It's also really nice to see a cub of Hukumuri's and his legacy. It's very, very peaceful. Nice breeze, nice bright green marula, and this gorgeous girl. I don't think I've ever actually been up this side of the reserve. Now that we can go into Buffelshoek, it makes for many more possibilities in what we can find. Look at those dangling legs. And the eyes are closed. Well, she is now nodding off, which is about the right time for a morning nap. Yes, that is a thing that we do out here in the bush. Well, we're going to head slowly towards camp and leave gorgeous Kara, and we'll send you over to some of those large herbivores.
Welcome back. You can probably hear the wind has picked up here quite a lot. And we're just going to have to move quickly. Because they're such big animals, obviously we have to give them some space. Just so that we don't put ourselves into more trouble than we need right now. You can see by their body language when we need to move and when we're probably a little bit too close to them. But this one here just keeps walking straight towards us. And then on the right of screen you can probably see the mother with her little calf that's hopefully going to come into the road soon. Wow. You can see how the calf actually goes to smell that dung in the road. Younger animals are very, very inquisitive, and you can imagine with this whole new world around them, they've got a lot of interests, and there's a lot of new smells. We've just been watching it for a long time copy its mother, basically. So its mother would go and eat from a tree, and then the calf would do the same thing, but with a lot less success than what its mother would manage. You can see with having a younger one around, the mother is obviously quite protective of it. And yes, they are used to seeing our vehicles, and they're also used to being given their space. So that's why important we just stay away from them when we see a little bit of a change in body language. They weren't too close there, but we could just see that she wasn't very happy with us being that close to her little calf. And now you can see that things have completely changed again. She's very relaxed now, and the calf is also quite at ease. You can see how it's struggling to actually eat from that little tree. So we're just going to have to wait here. There are a few more to my right hand side that I don't want to get between. So as the herd moves, they'll be communicating with each other. They use a very low frequency sound that they send through their body. Originally people thought it might have been made in their stomach. That's actually not true. It actually emanates from their vocal cords. So they are talking in a similar way to how we do. And that communication, those low grumbles, can be heard from up to 20 kilometers away. So the herd will always be in contact with each other, and even amongst different herds. I think it was Bernie who asked me earlier about how many different herds there are in Phinda. And I mentioned that they can split up from time to time. And that's how they'll stay in contact with each other, especially different members of herds that could have split up. And I'm sure you've all heard that elephants have excellent memories. So they definitely will remember individuals from different herds. Loti, I'm actually not sure if elephants cry. I think I've heard some talk about it before, but I'm not very sure about the answer. Their eyes often do water, but I think that's more of a defense mechanism or a way to help them remove dust from their eyes rather than actually crying. So maybe we can get a close look at one of these one's eyes. Hasn't been very dusty at the moment because of all the rain. But let's try and see if we can see often you'll see a little bit of sleep. Yeah, you can see a little damp patch on this elephant that's closest to us. But I think that's very similar to what we have in the morning when you wake up. That little sleep in the corner of your eye. It's just a build-up of dirt and dust in your eyes, using those liquids and moisture to actually protect itself. You can see that they're all just slowly moving. They're actually moving uphill, which is interesting. It looks like they've come from a waterhole earlier. And I say it's interesting because it's quite a thick forested area. It might be a place where they can get away from the wind. It is very windy this morning, and elephants, even though they are the world's biggest land mammal, they don't like wind because it does dull their hearing and their sense of smell. So they could even possibly feel a little bit more comfortable when they're in an area where it's not so windy. I know that's the case generally with game viewing. The wind isn't very helpful. But we've done all right this morning. I'm very happy to have found this beautiful herd of elephants. They are some of my favorite animals. I love the sounds they make, and they seem so calm and peaceful. But at the same time, I always feel like you have to give them their worth and give them their space. They are incredibly dangerous if they wanted to be. So I think we're going to let them cross the road, and then we're going to slowly start heading back home. What a morning it's been.
It's no secret that nature can heal. Some of our WildEarth viewers are finding solace in the outdoors close to their homes during lockdown.
This is how I keep myself busy during lockdown. Beautiful little jumping spot.
I love walking in the open spaces near my home. Provides a moment of peace in a crazy world.
This is my fire escape with some of the birds I get to see. That's what it's like in New York City during lockdown.
Being in nature helps me to cope with the challenges of life and helps me to be humble and grateful.
It's magical watching everything turn into a winter wonderland as the snow softly falls.
Been doing lots of walking, dog walking, outside at parks.
This is my Ridgeback Drake. Our little slice of paradise is a provincial park called Hopewell Ross.
Connecting with nature is critical to stay positive during these tough times. WildEarth encourages you all to find time to escape to nature.
The reason why we see that wildebeest by himself is because he's a male, or a bull, as we typically would call him. And what he does is that he marks and defends an area. Essentially, he is looking for the ultimate piece of land or prime property. Needs to have good grazing, needs to have a water source close by. And not too far away from here, there's a sickle bush thicket that would provide just enough shelter from the wind and the rain.
My name is Lauren, and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me, and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
Looks like it's a very difficult climb because every time it tries to climb, the ground is breaking, so it slides down. But it's the only one. Look at that. That is the call of desperation with a cub. It's like, what are you doing, mommy? Oops! Oof!
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth Daily.
Welcome back, everyone. And as you can see, we found quite a stunning scene here with a few giraffe that are nicely out in the open for us. And it's in the eastern part of Ngala, known as Buffalo Flats, and one of the most nutrient-rich parts of the property. Instead of having granite, there's more gabbro rock here, which in turn has allowed the soil to absorb a little bit more nutrients, which in turn the grass is better and the trees are also better. And the giraffe that we are on now, which one? The one's on the left, so you can see there is the one standing up is a large female. Have a look at those horns. You can see they've got all the ossicones on top of her head with a little bit of fur on it, and there's an oxpecker landing on her as well. And as you go down towards her sort of rear end and her bum, if you have a look at her tail, you'll see that she's missing half of it. And just below her tail on her back left leg, there's quite a bad scar there as well. So we were discussing, and we think that because of that scar, that might be an injury as a result of a failed lion attack. And luckily for this female, she's managed to get away. And the one just below her and to the right, the one that is lying down at present, you can see how fluffy that little giraffe's horns are. And that is quite a young giraffe, and I'm pretty sure that it is the the youngster of the female standing just to the left. And you can see that giraffe that is lying down, the young one covered in oxpeckers, and have a look how she's still chewing as well. So it is busy feeding as well. I'm so glad that we've been able to find a giraffe that is sitting down, Tammy. It is rather cute to see, and it's quite nice to see a young one sitting down as well, just to show how small they are. And even though they are rather small, how's that neck still sitting straight up, and the head, I mean, that's probably a meter and a bit off the ground. And although it might be your first giraffe that you've seen sitting down, it's not a common sight to see. Giraffe, I mean, they do lie down like that. They need to be able to rest and get off their feet, but you can imagine how vulnerable that position is. Something like a pride of lions came in here and started to stalk that giraffe. It would be quite difficult for it to stand up and get away. But it is a lovely, lovely setting here, and there's a little bit of a breeze blowing, so it's not too hot here out in the open, and I think that's why these giraffes are still standing in the sun. And if you have a look at these trees that are all around here, majority of them are knobthorn trees. So trees that have also got good nutrients, and one of the giraffe's favorite types of tree to feed on. It's got a lot of nutrients. Although it has horrible hooked thorns, the giraffe managed to get around that with using their quite rough tongue to strip the leaves. See how that mom is moving away, and she's looking quite carefully in a specific direction. I wonder if she spotted something that she's going to investigate. Often with these giraffe, that is what they will do. If they spot something like a lion, they don't want to move away from it. They'd much rather be able to see it and see what it is planning on doing. Baby giraffe, not too interested in what mom's looking at, but it is such a stunning way to end off our drive this morning. And love really is a lovely setting. There's some impala around. You can hear the oxpeckers calling and coming in. But it has been a lovely morning, and I hope you enjoyed Juma producing all the goods for us this morning with excellent leopard viewing and the wild dogs as well, and some elephants at Phinda. But thanks again for a lovely morning drive, everyone, and we will see you at 4 o'clock.